Nowadays, open-air farm markets are a dime a dozen. Consumers like them because they provide high-quality, fresh produce directly from the farm. But there was a time when this was a novel idea. The year was 1932, a few years into the Great Depression. All over the United States, times were tough. Banks were beginning to fail, businesses were struggling, and our nation's farmers were fighting foreclosure. Montgomery County farmers were not immune. The problems were compounded by a severe drought. Everyone struggled to stay afloat. A group of farm wives joined together to see what they could do to help. Barbara Johnson is the president of the Bethesda Farmwomen's Cooperative.
And a bunch of women were losing their farms on account of mortgages and electric and all that stuff. They didn't have any money to pay it. So a bunch of women, I think it was 19, got together and they opened a tent and sold their vegetables.
The first sale took place on February 2nd, 1932. They used a vacant building at the 6700 block of Wisconsin Avenue, which looked like this at the time. By the end of that year, the market moved to the building they're in now. The rent was $150 a month. And 2 years later, business was so good, the women bought the building.
Well, they got a loan from a bank in Baltimore with the help of, I guess, the Montgomery County Farms or something, helped them get the money in Baltimore. And they made down payments from the commission and stuff that they turned in at the office. And they paid for it, and we own it now.
The loan was for $50,000. The women were able to pay it back in less than 10 years. In its early days, as many as 150 women sold whatever their farms could produce. Each had a table, and each wore a white uniform. And after helping them unload, their husbands were encouraged to wait outside. In 1935, annual sales approached $120,000. 10 years later, it was $400,000. Today, it takes in between $800,000 and $900,000 each year. The co-op still operates in much the same way as when it first began. A group of directors, led by a president, oversees the operations. A market manager supervises the daily business. And each member is a stockholder who pays a small commission as well as rent for their stands. Mildred Watkins got her own stand in 1945 when she was 29 years old.
Well, I helped my cousin to prepare for the market, and that's a long story, long ago. And that day and time, she needed to have her teeth tended to and get dentures, and she wouldn't come without a denture, so she asked me to come to the market for her. So I started, and she ended up quitting, and I kept coming, and I've been here ever since. I never thought, she told me, well, I'd been coming 11 years. I thought, well, that is a long time. And here I've been coming almost 60.
She recalls well the early days.
Well, the ladies would all come in their white uniforms with their containers of potato salad, hominy, baked beans, and fudge was a great thing then, the chocolate fudge and different kind of homemade candies, buns, homemade bread, so many different things that was on the market at that day and time that isn't here now.
Except for a short break in the 70s, the Easton family has operated a stand here since 1935. Behind the counter today, you'll find Nellie, her son Harry, and daughter-in-law Rachel. Nellie began by helping her mother-in-law Mamie. Then, like today, it was always a family affair.
We all picked together the same type of vegetables and helped her bake her pies and her cakes, and help prepare the vegetables that we brought in.
Of course, in the beginning, there weren't any modern conveniences.
Well, way back when my mother-in-law came, all they did, they had like pie pans, had ice on top, and put the chickens and things like that on the ice because there weren't any refrigeration things to bring in.
In addition to produce, Ray Wren sells flowers that he grows in his Burtonsville greenhouses. Ray's mother, Frances, started at the market in 1942. Once Ray was born, he was the youngest member to join the market.
Yep, 1956, they brought me in over and kept me underneath the little stand in a little bassinet. For years, that was the way I was till I started walking. I guess I got too much trouble. Then they started finding places for me to stay and keeping me, I guess, until I was about 8 or 9. I used to come over and help unload and set up and just do the general running around, the leg stuff that I got my son doing now, that kind of thing, next generation.
Strolling through the market today, you won't see the white uniforms. You won't see mounds of ice keeping things cold. And instead of farmers in every stand, you will see flea market vendors filling the gaps. But nonetheless, stepping into the Bethesda market is a little like stepping back in time.
It's been here forever. I've been in here for as long as I can remember. I like the place. Most of the people are real friendly. At times it's hard. At times it's well worth it. But I just want to be here. That's it. You know, there's no place couldn't visualize myself doing. I had a business before, and it was always something missing. You know, didn't have that atmosphere, I guess, is the thing.